I think to get really good at asking people for alms, there's a lot of intangibles to that. And sometimes I run across people who are very, very good at it in the most unlikely places. Many years ago, I was working down south, and they put me up in a conference center. I was working for a religious order. They put me up in a conference center, and late at night on cable TV, I happened upon, as I was going through channel 574 or something like that, I happened upon Pastor Daryl Dumas, I think was the guy's name. And Pastor Dumas had a very low budget studio. I mean, it looked like he sat in his living room couch like this maybe, had one camera, and then he spoke to that camera, and he taught people Bible studies, right? And the thing was, as I was flipping through the channels, Pastor Daryl was so engaging in his presentation, I just happened to linger for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Next thing I know, his half-hour program is over. And at the very end of his Bible study, he looks square into the camera and he says, "Now I done taught you the Word of God. Now it's time to pony up." And I thought, really? Now it's time to pony up? I mean, that's how he asked for money? Now, I would never say that to somebody, but the one thing I did appreciate about Pastor Dumas was, here's a guy with that, that cowboy hat on, sitting on his sofa, deep southern Mississippi drawl, but he was just so down to earth, and there was so much authenticity. I mean, Pastor Daryl, what made him a great preacher was the fact that he spoke from a heart and he used Pastor Daryl Dumas's words, right? And when it came to asking for money, he was still Pastor Dumas. He still spoke from the heart. He still used the words that were his words. And so that's the point of that little story, is that if you're going to ask somebody for money, before you go out to do that, I always find it's really helpful to put yourself in a place of prayer, to enter into prayer, to find that spot in your heart where you really dig deep and ask yourself, why are we doing what we're doing, right? And then when you're asking for the money, to speak from that place of authenticity. Let me give you a couple of other examples. A number of years ago, I did a capital campaign for Pius High School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And the school was built, I think, in the 20s or the 30s, and they still had, at that point of the campaign, they still had their original science labs. And so, that was they were completely outdated. And so the purpose of the capital campaign was to build new science labs. And as the campaign went on, we would have like small group gatherings where graduates and friends and parents would come in. And the principal would give a presentation, and then after the presentation, we would go out and try and get appointments with people, visit with them privately. But the campaign just seemed to be struggling. And one of the things that I noticed about John's presentation as principal was that it was all buttoned up. It was all super formal. It was all, talking about going forward for the future and all stock phrases like this. And so one afternoon, as I was visiting with John in his principal's office, I started asking him about, John, deep down, why are we doing what we're doing? He says, I'll tell you why we're doing what we're doing. It's because when we turn the water on, we don't know where it ends up. That's why we can't turn on the water in the science labs. I go, seriously? You mean it's that bad? The plumbing has gotten that bad where you no longer can even use water in your science experiments, because you don't know where the water's going to end up? He goes, yeah, that's true. I said, well, say that then. And you know what? The minute that he started being genuine, right, and really down to earth with the people in the room, that, I think, was the turning point in the capital campaign. Again, it's that whole idea of authenticity. Let me give you one more example. I also worked with a Catholic high school in Springfield, Illinois, and the principal at that time was a Dominican sister who was wonderful. She was just, personality-wise, she was everything that you'd want a principal to be. But in the presentations to donors, again, I saw that she was rather formal, right? And and rather reserved, right? And so one afternoon, as we were sitting in her office talking about the campaign, you know, she started talking about what the school meant and what it meant to the students and what she desired for her students and all of this. And as she spoke, I just felt myself, you know, being drawn in a way to what she was saying in a way that I'd never felt when she gave the public presentation, right? And so what I encouraged her to do was I said, you know, it's okay, sister, to be passionate. You know, when you're speaking, you know, put the script aside, put the formality aside, put it all aside and just speak from the heart. And again, the next time we did a fundraising function and she approached it that way, just genuinely, rather than reading from a script, that was when I could tell the campaign reached a turning point and people really started to respond. And you know, she gave the presentation. I think she even kind of welled up with tears thinking about what it was she wanted for her students. So again, to summarize this video, the point I'm trying to get across is too often I see people, administrators, presidents, principals, pastors, who say all the right things, right? But they say them with a certain formality and a certain coldness and aloofness that just doesn't move people's hearts. You know, you have to pray about why you do what you do. Find that spot inside of you. And then express it. Tell people what the Lord means to you. Tell them why you work for the Catholic Church for so little money, right? Tell them what it is you desire for your students, that they come to know Christ. It's okay to be passionate. It's more than okay. You have to be passionate. People respond to passion. So pray, think, be logical, but above all, be genuine, be authentic, and be passionate in asking.